Hello everyone, Johnny Thunder, EAS&Weather here with your Day 1 fire weather outlook. There are two areas where we have elevated fire weather risk areas today that encompasses one covering central New Mexico and another covering northeastern Colorado, the Nebraska Panhandle, and eastern and southeastern Wyoming. So we have the elevated fire weather risk areas today. In summary, mid-level raging will remain in place across the western CONUS with northwesterly mid-level flow downstream of this feature. This will support another day of dry, downslope flow in the lee of the Rockies ahead of a southward surging cold front. Portions of eastern Wyoming and the northeastern Colorado and the Nebraska Panhandle. Strong northwesterly flow in mid-levels will lead to the enhancement of lead troughing across the central and northern high plains as high pressure builds to the west. This will support a strong cross-terrain pressure gradient that will yield dry downslope flow in the lee of the Central Rockies and Laramie Range, with sustained surface winds of 15 to 25 miles per hour and isolated gusts of 35 to 45 miles per hour expected, locally higher in terrain-favored areas. Deep boundary layer mixing coupled with the dry downslope flow will simultaneously favor afternoon relative humidity values falling into the 15 to 20% range, locally as low as 10%. With multiple days of strong downslope winds preceding day 1, Friday, fuels are expected to be receptive to fire. Given the factors, elevated to locally critical fire weather conditions are likely for at least a few hours across portions of eastern Wyoming into the Nebraska Panhandle and southward toward the Palmer Divide this afternoon. Portions of central into east central New Mexico. Lower relative humidity values of 10 to 15% are likely to extend farther south into portions of southeastern New Mexico and western Texas. However, winds are expected to remain light. The one exception will be across portions of central into east central New Mexico, where a band of modest northwesterly mid-level flow will support dry, downslope winds in the lee of the Sandia-Manzano Mountains. Sustained westerly surface winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour are expected to overlap very low relative humidity values of 10 to 20% for at least a few hours this afternoon. Given warm and dry antecedent conditions, this overlap is expected to support elevated fire weather conditions this afternoon. Northern plains into the Midwest, a southward advancing surface cold front will promote a strong surface pressure gradient across portions of the northern plains into the western Corn Belt this afternoon. Widespread 20 to 30 mile per hour sustained northwesterly surface winds ahead of this front are expected to overlap relative humidity values of 20 to 30%. Farther south and east, lighter southwesterly winds of 10 to 20 miles per hour are expected to overlap relative humidity of 20 to 30% ahead of a surface pressure trough from southwestern Missouri into western Illinois. Given that fuels are expected to be only modestly receptive across the region, elevated fire weather conditions should remain localized. So, that's your Day 1 fire weather outlook. Remain safe and vigilant in these areas today. If I were you, I would gather supplies immediately, such as food, water, clothing, toiletries, medical supplies, a flashlight, a cell phone, phone chargers, flashlights, extra batteries, a first aid kit, and a battery-powered radio in the event they need to evacuate on a moment's notice, because fire can start and spread quickly. Please avoid outdoor burning in the elevated areas. Please avoid outdoor burning in the elevated areas, since one little spark is all it takes for a fire to start and spread quickly. Do not throw cigarettes on the ground. Do not throw cigarettes on the ground, even if they're not lit, because 1, that's littering. 2, one little spark is all it takes for a fire to start and spread quickly. And make sure your cigarette is fully out before throwing it away. So there's no day 2 fire weather. There's no day 2 fire weather at this time. So if day 2 doesn't have even an elevated fire risk, then there will be no day 2 fire weather outlook video. Okay, just be aware of that. But if a an elevated fire risk does get put into day 2, then I will have a day 2 fire weather outlook later. That's if it happens. That's a big if. If it doesn't, there's no sense. There'll be no day 2 fire weather outlook. So stay safe in the elevated fire weather risk today, and I will see you when I see you. Take care.